Good evening and welcome to Athens City Council. Tonight's a committee meeting night. It's March 26, 2018 at 7 p.m. You'll notice that we have a slightly different format where as we have our committee meetings, those members who are part of that committee, the first one tonight being the Transportation Committee, will be up here on the dais. And then as other committees come up on the agenda, then those committee members will come forward to be up on the dais and others will move around. So we'll have a little bit of moving around these first few weeks as we try this new format out. So Transportation is first, and chairing that is Councilmember Peter Katsas.
President Isley, thank you. And I will note that we have all four members of the Transportation Committee present here tonight, and we really only have two topics to cover this evening. Both of them, I'm going to say they're very light duty. The first one is Brew Week. We have yet another street closure that we need to consider, and this one we have Brandon Thompson from the Ohio Brew Week Committee. He will be presenting tonight and talking about Ohio Brew Week, which is from July 13th through the 21st. And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe you're probably asking for a street closure on the closing day, that Saturday the 21st.
Correct.
Okay.
Going in everything real quick.
All right.
Brew Week. Yes, as Pete said, Brew Week's going to be our 13th year. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger. It's awesome. We're looking for a street closure on the 21st. Same thing. Basically, everything we're doing this year on the 21st is the same. So the event will go from music will start at 1 o'clock and go till midnight. We're asking for street closure at 6 a.m. Like we did last year. We'll have the same amount of vendors. Street setup will be the same. We are looking to close. Look up real quick. Closure of Court Street from Washington to Carpenter, and then the closure of State Street from Congress to College Street. So we'll have vending basically going from right around the Lucky's parking lot. There'll be a smaller stage up there, an acoustic stage, and then the main stage will be down by Cornwall Drillers like we had last year. So we're looking, last year we had around 4,000 people coming, and it was, it rained a little bit, some heat, so we're expecting about the same amount of people this year. Last year, we extended the event by an hour, and we saw really good results from that, so people seem to like that. So.
Okay. And just, I wanted to call it closing ceremonies, but what's the name of that?
Last Call Street Festival.
Okay.
So Ohio Brew Week is a 9-day festival. Starts on that first Friday, and it goes until Saturday. That's last call, like in a bar or something like that. So,
okay.
So we'll have about 45 breweries on the street. We'll also have Athens vendors, food, art. So people giving out information, things like that, and music going from, like I said, from 1 o'clock until midnight.
Okay. And a good response from the business owners uptown. Everybody is excited.
I met with AUBA last year. My plan is to meet with them again this year, just to make sure if there's any problems or anything like that. Didn't hear anything last year. We didn't get first place for best annual Athens event, and they got second, but we lost to Nelson Music Fest, which is another great event. So Athens seems to like the event, which is great. So.
Good. That's great. And then as I was jotting stuff down, I didn't catch the closing. The music will be closing down on Saturday evening at
midnight.
At midnight. Okay. And then your tear down.
Hopefully, be out of there by 1:30ish. I think.
Okay.
If we get out there pretty quickly.
Okay.
Things go pretty quickly. I mean, most of the beer vendors have run out of beer or are just closed down for the night. So getting out of there probably at 1:30. So.
Okay. All right. So, Brandon, thank you so much for coming out tonight to give us the details in such a quick and succinct fashion. This is great. We'll be looking forward to this, and I assume we'll start with our regular ordinances. We'll probably have to have two of them, one for the closure and then one for the vending, and we'll start to see that come through next week. Oh, I'm sorry. the mayor. Yes, and anybody, do you guys have questions right now? I feel like, I shouldn't be doing this. This isn't the way this works.
This is fine.
So I'm sorry.
Thank you,
Yes.
Chairman
Yes.
Cousins. I would just like to say, Brandon, that I think you do a remarkable job with this, and I enjoyed myself tremendously last year. It's a wonderful event, and I hope you keep doing it. So.
Yeah, this is my third year. I enjoy it. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. Like I said, it's getting bigger and bigger. And you know, one of the things I like about being a townie is we can use Brew Week to help other groups and whatnot. So we do a lot of fundraising. A lot of groups come and help us out, and we're able to donate them. So it's not just we're taking all this money and just building this empire. We're just taking the money and put it back in the community, which is great. So you can feel good about coming up and grabbing a beer because you're helping out, the rest of the community. So.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Mayor, please.
Thank you. As a friendly suggestion to you, Brandon, and I too recognize how hard you work at this. I know what that job is like. So you do a great job. Ohio Brew Week is one of the largest home brew and microbrew, craft brew events in the state. It's certainly the oldest, but it's one of the largest as well. But my friendly suggestion is this, is that not all of the business owners who are on Court Street in the area that you're describing to us are AYUBA members. So I would recommend that you reach out one by one, which may take a little time, but make sure that you do reach out to the business owners who aren't part of the Chamber of Commerce nor part of AYUBA, just to make sure that they're aware. I know there were some problems in past years with individuals who weren't part of AYUBA and indicating that they didn't know that they were not going to be able to access their building or parking or things of that nature. So again, just a suggestion.
Absolutely, and I can say on the record, no one's reached out in the last 3 years I've done it complaining about anything, which is good. That doesn't mean they don't have problems or whatnot. That's a good idea. Go reach out and make sure we're disturbing somebody, because sometimes the street closures do creep up on people sometimes. So.
Okay. Are we good? I think, okay. Once again, Brandon, thank you so much.
Sure. You guys have a great night.
All right. Thank you. You too. Okay. The second topic that we have this evening is Transportation Alternatives Program. This is for some work in the Uptown Cross Street bike and pedestrian improvements. And I met with the mayor to get a little bit of a briefing on this, and I may have to lean on administration a little bit because I'm not living with this project. But we are looking at, this is Transportation Alternatives, the TAP program through ODOT. And so this is, we are looking for a resolution to apply for the TAP grant. And the scope of the project is looking at the cross streets to Court Street. So East Union, because West Union was improved here the last couple of years ago, and it seems like it was yesterday. But the other two streets are also Washington Street and State Street, and it's East Union, so that's from Court to College. Washington Street from Court to Congress, so north of Court Street, and then State Street. They're still kind of drilling it down. It could go all the way from College to Congress, but they have yet to determine if they're going to include both of those blocks. What they want to do in these identified areas is pedestrian enhancement, so bump outs at crosswalks, also looking at curb heights. And I don't know if there are additional, those were the 2 points that rang in my head. Were there other?
Sidewalk improvements. There would be sidewalk improvements. And then rather than getting rid of perfectly good lamp posts and replacing them with new ones, we do want to repaint and recondition the lamp posts that are there. They also are the same lamp posts that we see on the West Union project that rolled out. We likely will include Mill and East State Street. Member Katsas, okay. I know that there was a little uncertainty, but we're going to roll those in to where it's kind of continuous and contiguous for State, because that was the one interesting thing. You've got that Flatiron piece of property where you have Mill and then you have East State Street. So we'll likely capture those to College within this particular project. We'll likely do some benches, some improvements, again, as Member Katsas indicated, that we can do the curb or the corner bump outs to where we shorten the walking distance at the crosswalks, which is a safety feature. And we're going to explore those with this project as well. We did receive the go-ahead from Ohio Department of Transportation with our, when they had the request for letters for people submitting letters, letter of intent rather. And so they've authorized us to then make a full application. So that's what this is about.
And is there, I didn't ask this this morning, but is there a dollar amount at this point for, I mean, this is still in its infancy, is that correct?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. We don't have a firm dollar amount on what this project would cost, but we'll drill down into that. That's being looked at as we speak.
Well, I think I'm sorry. I see the hands coming up. One last thing. I see looking at what is our busiest pedestrian corridor, if we can expand those wait areas. I could see that as a huge benefit, not only shortening the distance to cross, but just to provide more of a landing space for those people. So, Member McGee.
Thank you, Chairman Kotsis. This is a question for the mayor. I'm just wondering, it would seem that College Street in particular needs some work on the sidewalks and the curbs. They're falling in. The sidewalks are in very bad condition for an area that would be so adjacent to the real uptown area. And that's not going to have to wait for a long period of time, is it? It's not part of this project that you've mentioned, so.
No, but Member McGee, it's quite possible that if we're successful in getting this, with the cost that we're going to, or the money we would receive from this grant and our match for this project, that we would be able to stretch our street improvement dollars out and possibly wrap around and capture some of College Street as well. But again, we'll be looking at that. Again, this is a grant that is going to be 2022, 2023. So this is quite a long ways out. So it gives us time to plan for some others. Hopefully we can get some of those done before then, because I do recognize that there's some areas that really have a level of urgency in having them repaired.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Member Crowell.
I would just appreciate a little more clarification. I know we're talking about East Union from Court to Congress and most of East State Street. Court to College.
College, yep.
But then Washington Street here, I believe Member Kotze said Court to Congress?
Congress to College.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
If he did, I didn't hear that.
Okay.
But
so it's the same two blocks.
It would be
that was my question. Okay. Why would we? Thank you.
And the same would hold true for State Street.
Okay, thank you.
And just for clarification, I talked about, is it curb heights? We're looking at kind of ADA, because I've heard this recently about how the ramps sometimes from vehicles aren't able to engage because the curb height isn't what it needs to be, or it's too much.
We will absolutely look at that. I've heard that too. I'm sure that the council has heard about that, to where some individuals if they have a side lift door, that is sometimes not operational because of curb height being too high. So we will address everything that we can with this particular project. The other thing too, just to share with council, this kind of came up with the West Union Street project, where, well into that project and trying really hard to stay within our budget, and we by and large did, was the grinding or the milling that took place along the gutter, and realizing that there's Athens brick underneath there. Not that I think none of us really thought that there was, but just something that's like, oh yeah, under some of our pavement, some of our asphalt, there's Athens block, brick street still. So one of the things we will look at for West Washington, so between Court and Congress, for those of you who have traveled on the east side of that, it's Brick Street, and then you hit the intersection and you keep heading west, and it transitions to asphalt. And we'll certainly look at milling that down and keeping it brick if we find that there's not a whole lot of concrete patchwork that has taken place, because that's what happened in the day. Is a lot of times they would remove the brick because of a water line break, a sewer line, whatever was under there, and rather than put Athens block back in again, they would just fill it in with concrete. And that's what we noticed on West Union. There's a lot of concrete patchwork, which made it cost prohibitive to have it become all Athens block or brick again. So we'll explore a lot of things with this project if we're successful.
And I did have just two more points. I don't know if there's any more questions up here. One was, I just wanted to make people aware this is not the same type of treatment that happened on West Union. So we're not widening the sidewalks or we're working within what boundaries we already have determined, but just when we get to the intersections, that's where things are going to look a little different. The second thing is the TAP program, and you can correct me, Mr. Mayor, if I'm wrong, is that still pretty generous? Is it still funded at a 95%?
You know, Member Cox, I'm not sure if it is up to 95%. I can get back to council on that next Monday night or before that. But it's a significant match that, when I say significant, ours is very it's low,
Yep.
As opposed to the funding amount that comes from ODOT.
From ODOT.
This is what we've used for the Northwest Bike Path Spur Phase 3 was a TAP grant. We've been successful in other areas in the city with getting these transportation alternative, the Richland Avenue pedestrian improvements. There was, that was transportation alternative program monies as well. So this is a great program. Yeah. Unlike the small cities, your metric is much different. It's based on road condition and crashes, which we were successful in getting one of those for the Stimson Avenue project. That's a small cities grant, also under ODOT.
Okay. Oh, Member Crowell.
One other thing, I see that it's listed on the agenda as a bike pedestrian improvement. Are there bike portions of this?
We'll look at all modes of transportation. It even includes bus stops along that corridor or in that area. That would be more on Court Street, but there are some laterals where buses go around. So yeah, it's multimodal. It's basically under the active transportation model.
Okay, so while the sidewalk width would not change, there is a possibility of shrinking the lanes of travel and adding bike lanes? Is that
We will
what we're
look at
talking about?
that. We'll look at a number of things with this project.
Thank you.
All right, great. And with that, I'm going to close out the Transportation Committee. Thank you.
Okay. We'll next move on to City and Safety Services Committee, and that's chaired by Councilmember Butler, and also has then Councilmember Katsas and Councilmember Fall.
By a vowel while I get the mic on. I believe we're almost ready. We have all council members present. Thank you, President Isley. Mic check, can you hear me okay out there? Thumbs up. We have two items on the agenda this evening. The first is discussion, and if I can key this up on the computer. The first is a request from our Public Works Director, and this is regarding the WARN system, W-A-R-N, and this is essentially an opportunity for us to become members and sign an MOU, which would be a mutual aid agreement with other entities and cities that sign up. So imagine if there's a catastrophe or something similar to the derecho that we experienced a few years ago. This, in turn, being a part of the system, would allow us to either receive personnel, equipment, or supplies, or offer to other communities that were struggling with the said event or said emergency. This specifically is the Ohio Water Wastewater Agency Response Network, or WARN. And again, to share resources to assist each other in the form of personnel, equipment, materials, and supplies in the event of emergencies that disrupt utility services. I don't know if the mayor also wants to add any more to this.
Just that the WARN is an acronym for Ohio Water Wastewater Agency Response Network. And again, it's a mutual aid agreement to where if we were to be impacted, or if another community were to be impacted and they needed, personnel assistance, materials, equipment, anything of that nature. And in a situation like that, where if there were a natural disaster that required mutual aid across, municipalities, likely at some point FEMA is going to kick in. And so, the municipalities, if the federal government goes to that level, we would be reimbursed for any assistance that we needed, or anything that we had to put in for another municipality, that the FEMA money would end up coming back to the city as well. So this is something that has been looked at extensively and is the right thing to do to enter into this MOU with other cities across the state. And by the way, I just heard recently, since we're talking on this topic, that Governor Kasich has written to President Trump to have FEMA become involved with some of the water impacts that southeastern Ohio has experienced over the past month or so, which includes Athens County. So,
thank you, Mayor Patterson.
Sure.
Any questions or comments from council members? Yes, Councilmember Katsas.
Yes, thank you. So is this a new program? And I guess I was kind of curious about what other regional community, municipalities have signed up for something like this.
That's a great question. I don't have that immediate answer in front of me. The mayor might be able to expand on that. I'm not sure, but this is a request from our Public Works Director for us to enter into this MOU. My guess is that it's
been around for, this isn't brand new. I can read to you an email that the current director for Engineering and Public Works basically stated that, we tactily participate with this organization, or in this organization. However, we need to, or should officially participate, as we need to have approval on a mutual aid agreement. So if other municipalities have needed help from us, we haven't said no if someone needs help. But this is, this would essentially codify our involvement in this, under this MOU for mutual aid.
Yeah.
And if I can reference the derecho as an example, that was where the university and the city, because of our MOU, were able to work with each other. I think we borrowed one of their generators to help at the water plant to send water to one of the towers to pump it uphill. Does that sound correct?
Yes, and Ohio University was ready and waiting if we would have lost our third leg for the water treatment plant as well. We didn't, but there's already that level of mutual aid.
So similar. Yeah.
Okay.
Other questions?
No, I'm good.
None? Okay. President Nisley, anything? Okay.
Sounds good.
Anything else from the mayor? We're good. Okay. The next item on the agenda this evening is just business as usual with disposal of a few vehicles. There's a request from Public Works to authorize the City Service Safety Director to dispose of two vehicles. One is an old dump truck. That's my understanding. It's a 1985 International with over 100,000 miles on it. And then the other vehicle appears to be a 2003 GMC Sierra 4x4, which has about 95,000 miles on it. Anything else on the trucks? Oh, we have pictures. Thank you.
I don't know if Ryan or Scott can zoom in on this at all, but there's the
dump truck.
This is the dump truck, the International dump truck, which, as Mayor Butler said, has 109,000 miles, but a lot of local road wear and tear on this vehicle. And
here's one of the service pickup trucks.
The GMC Sierra that, again, has lower miles, but has really lived its useful life within the city as a service truck.
Any questions for the mayor on the vehicles?
I do.
Yes, Councilmember Katsas.
Are these getting donated to other? No.
Well, they could, as part of this ordinance. We've not heard from anyone who says they need a rusty dump truck or a service vehicle, but we could. I mean, these are...
I just didn't know if they already had a, if they had a destination.
Not for the
already.
trucks.
Okay.
Not for the trucks. But there is another item on this.
Thank you, yes, thank you. And that's a good segue to the third item that we'd like to throw in this upcoming ordinance, and that would be the Aqua Climb, which was a fun climbing wall contraption that was at the old city pool. It will not retrofit into the current pool. It's not compatible with the pool that's being built. So there's a request to donate it to the city of Logan, Ohio, for their municipal swimming pool. It seems to be that it would be a good fit there. Mr. Andrew Cheeky, the Assistant Director of the Athens Community Parks and Rec, has estimated that the item would be, with depreciation of value and its estimated lifespan, roughly $3,673. It was purchased in July 2010, so it has depreciated a little bit, but that would be something that we'd like to, the administration would like to move forward with donating, or disposing of, rather. Does that sound accurate?
Yeah, and the salvage value, Andrew Chicky has put this in there as well. The salvage value is $500 if we were to just outright dispose of it. But since there is a need out there with one of our local communities, neighboring communities, that falls within this ordinance as well to be able to donate it to another municipality.
Any questions or comments? If none, I believe that concludes the City Service Safety Committee. President Nisley, thank you.
Thanks. We'll move on to the Finance and Personnel Committee, and that's chaired by Jeff Reisner, and then also Kent Butler is vice chair, and Sam Crowell is our other member.
Now we're logging in. Okay. Okay, computer's up and running. Let's see our documents. I see we have a full committee here. Councilmember Butler and Member Crowell are here. We only have one item. It's called birthday holidays. More correctly, it has to do with our part-time employees' birthday holidays and our full-time employee birthday holidays. The current non-bargaining benefits package agreement has them separated. Each the part-time employees have one standard and our full-time employees have another. The point of this committee tonight is to bring those two disparate those two different items together under one thing. And essentially what we'll do is I'm proposing to bring the part-time employees' birthday language under that of our full-time employee language. And I see it says here that I was talking with our auditor. At the moment, everyone has to take their has to wait until their probation is completed if they're full-time. With our part-time employees, they don't. They can take their birthday holiday immediately. But our full-time employees cannot. They have to wait until after their probationary period, which really is not fair to our full-time people. And it should be. Right now, that we do not have any part-time employees on staff, so now is the time to make the change so we won't be interrupting anybody's current plans or anything. The way it works right now is you can pretty much take your birthday holiday anytime during the calendar year. You don't have to wait until your birthday. You don't have to wait until after your birthday. As soon as you're hired and you passed your probationary period, you can take your birthday. But if you're a part-time employee, you can take it almost immediately. So any questions from committee? Member Butler?
No, thank you.
Would the mayor add any more to this than I've already covered?
You summed it up really well. It's just making sure that everything's in line with each other and that, basically all employees will be eligible for their birthday holiday once they complete probation.
Well, I think it's equity too. Everyone
It
is
is.
treated equally.
Yep.
And that's the way it should be. So Monday night we'll introduce an ordinance to amend our non-union bargaining benefits package agreement to reflect this language. That's all I have. Committee adjourned.
Our last committee tonight is the Planning and Development Committee, and Councilmember Fall is chairing that and joined by council members Reisner, McGee, and Grace.
Are we all mic'd up? We are. Okay. Discussion for tonight is granting a 10-year revocable license to 406 Elmwood Place. It was passed at the Zoning Board of Appeals, 5-all, to allow for a non-privacy white picket fence, pretty much, around the property at 406 and not paying attention to or not having to follow the setback rules. So pretty straightforward, 10 years. Any questions? Okay. We'll come Monday. Thank you.
The members do have the documents on it and to look at the paperwork that came through from the code office and the sign-offs on it. All right. We're adjourned. We'll see you all next Monday night, April 2nd. Thanks so much. Good evening.